Well, Holly, we are going to go now to someone who was inside the Pentagon Tuesday at the time that that plane hit. We are joined now by retired Marine Major Wayne Gardner. Good morning, Major, and we are happy you're with us.
Oh, glad to be here.
Tell us what happened at that time of impact, what you heard, what you saw.
I was in a seminar, and they had just announced a break, and they said they were going to put up on the screen CNN News, a report of a couple of aircraft that had hit the World Trade Center. And then very soon after that, there was a jolt that shook the building. I was in the outer ring of the Pentagon, the E-ring, on the 5th floor. And I grew up in the desert Southwest, so I've been in lots of earthquakes. And it wasn't the sharp jolt of a heavy explosive. It was a little longer than that, and it was it felt like an earthquake jolt.
Major Gardner, how close were you on that E-ring to the point of impact? Can you estimate it at all?
I'd say about 200 meters, maybe a little more.
So then what were you told once there was this jolt? And so you were already thinking, you did not believe it was a bomb at that point, correct?
No, I didn't.
Because it's not a sharp jolt, as you said. What then happened? You're there on the 5th floor. What happened next?
Well, very soon thereafter, the fire alarm went off, and the people running the seminar said that that was a fire alarm. I would not have recognized it necessarily as a fire alarm at first, and told us to evacuate. Significantly, they did not say it was a drill. So we filed out. I was one of the last ones out because I was in the front row, and we headed down to one of the stairways. On the outer ring of the Pentagon, a lot of the stairways are pretty narrow, and this was one of those narrow ones. And we were stacked up there, and I heard some people say something, this is like Pearl Harbor, and of course, I'm at that point, I'm not aware of it being a terrorist attack on
right, so you still
Trade.
were not associating it with what had happened in New York, in your mind. You're just moving out of the building,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then someone moved us back to another stairway because this one was backed up. And I remember picking up a donut off the snack table. I'd been a little bit disappointed that I hadn't picked one up earlier because I was thinking, if this building collapses, I'll need all the nourishment I can get.
Marine's always prepared, I guess.
Then the first indication I had that was really something serious was the fact that Major General Barry, Air Force, was at that stairway directing people down it, so I knew then that something serious was going on.
Give us some sense at that time. You said you were stacked up, meaning it was slow getting out. Were the lights on, and how long did it take you to physically get outside the building? How long was that process?
I would say it was less than 5 minutes, because, the Pentagon is a remarkable structure. It's only 5 stories high, so you can get out fairly easily and fairly quickly.
So even with the I guess with the staircase situation, you were still able to get out quickly.
Oh yes, there was no panic whatsoever. Not much conversation either. Just people just moved in an orderly fashion down this other stairway.
Then let's get outside. Once you got outside, what could you see?
Well, immediately I saw black billowing smoke and debris falling from the sky, and I could smell it. I could tell it was a petroleum fire, and someone said it was a bomb. I didn't think so because I didn't smell any cordite, any C4 or TNT smell. And
And help us out, because most of us civilians wouldn't have recognized that, but as someone who had been in the Marine, had been trained, you would have recognized those smells.
Oh, yes,
yes.
Okay. I've heard, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've smelled high explosives a lot.
Major Gardner, while you were still inside the Pentagon building itself, was there any smoke, any fumes in the hallways itself as you were coming out?
Not where I was.
Okay.
It hadn't spread that far. No, I didn't notice anything inside, but as soon as we got outside, black billowing smoke. And everyone was very calm. The police, Pentagon police were very calm. Most of us just stood there very close to the building where the buses come by, looking up, and then they asked us to move to the other side of the parking lot, which we did. And I saw a group of Marine officers, so I went over to them, and they were all naval aviators or naval flight officers. One of them, a lieutenant colonel, a pilot, was relating how he had seen the aircraft come in, and he thought that it had hit the helipad That's a concrete helicopter landing pad on the southwest wing of the Pentagon. And
just to let our viewers know, we are not looking at the tape of as what you were describing there on Tuesday, the black billowing smoke. And indeed, the initial reports, we weren't sure whether it was a direct hit either. Some said it was the helipad. So go on. So that at that first, you were being told the same thing. People there on the ground.
Yeah, that was an eyewitness. I don't know his name, but Marines don't wear name tags. So, I was struck by the calmness of everyone and the sobriety. It was very sober conversations. There wasn't any joking or laughter naturally at all. But it was pretty serious. Also, I didn't hear any, cries for vengeance or anything like that. It was just, I think everyone was naturally very surprised.
When in the moments immediately after, how quickly was it realized that what might have happened?
Oh, I'd say in less than 10 minutes after we exited the building. At least I knew, based on what I had heard from the Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel who had seen the plane crash. I knew what had happened, although I did not hear him say it was an American Airlines plane. So it was only later that I heard that from another Marine.
Let me ask you now, here we are, it is Thursday, 2 days after this attack, as you've had a little while to try to process it. As a Marine, a Vietnam vet, today, when you look on this incident, New York and Washington targets of terrorism we never could have imagined, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think it's just an eye-opener of a new era of conflict. Unfortunately, that seems to be the nature of world history, is one of conflict, and it's being brought home to us. I think we ought not to rant and rave for immediate action. This is going to take some time. I think these terrorists are already headed towards their rallying points. Their stock in trade is their intellectual property, their skills. They don't need a lot of physical plants. So I would imagine that they are already evading to rallying points. And
Major, I wanted to ask you, they have in the Army what they sometimes refer to as hardship posts being sent to the 38th parallel in Korea. You were in combat zones in Vietnam. One tends to think of duty at the Pentagon as being one of the safest posts in our defense establishment. Your thoughts on this being the target of an enemy attack?
Well, it was a symbolic attack. It had absolutely zero effect on military capability of the United States. This was purely a symbolic, in-your-face kind of, and to show that we can do anything we want. The Pentagon is not a defended installation. There are no missiles around it. There's no troops in foxholes or trenches around it. It's an office building, and it's an administrative headquarters of the Defense Department. But it had no effect whatsoever on the defensive or offensive capabilities of the United States military.
Major, I do just want to ask you on a more personal note, your daughter, I guess, had taken you to this seminar. Your family was aware that you were at the Pentagon. At what point did you were you able to connect with your family and talk about their reaction when they finally did see you later that day?
Well, eventually we figured out, and the police were urging everyone to get out of the area. So I didn't have a car up there. My daughter had dropped me off at work that morning, and so I went over to the access road to Interstate 395, hoping that a Stafford County car would be coming along, and sure enough, a man did show up and offered rides. 3 of us jumped in, and then a 4th one came up. So
let me be sure I got that there you are in Arlington. You said, I'm going to go out there and hope someone's going to take me to Stafford, and it happened?
Yeah, within, less than a minute.
Wow.
And then he had a cell phone.